What's up guys, today we are reviewing Oppenheimer, a film that I can safely say has soared to the top of my best films of the year list. It was an absolutely exhilarating cinematic experience and we are about to tuck into why that is. One of the reasons why I adore and respect Chris Nolan's body of work so much is that he is acting on a cognitive level that just surpasses most of the working filmmakers today. His films are always really intellectually stimulating, really intelligent to watch, and also doesn't make the mistake of needing to pander everything and dumb it down for his audience. He entrusts the narrative and the subtext to the audience, and if you're paying attention you will follow with it. His films are not the sort of films that you can watch half-heartedly. You can't be on your phone like distracted. All eyes and ears need to be peeled on the screen at all times in case you miss key details, key bits of subtext, thematic developments, because he is a very nuanced filmmaker and trusts you to follow along and have a much more enriching journey because of it. I do think Nolan has a very specific visual style of film. He's known for doing everything in camera, for doing everything practically where possible. And while I absolutely love that commitment to practical on-location filmmaking, I don't think his films from a cinematography standpoint have ever really captivated me that much. I think when you talk about Chris Nolan's style as a filmmaker, he's at his best when you're talking about narrative and character. I think the way he structures his narratives, the way he reveals information and kind of commits to non-linear sequences when he does, always works really well. And I think that is for me probably the biggest triumph of Oppenheimer, is that it feels so character driven. It feels like a very singular, intricate character study. And I wouldn't say I've really ever been compelled emotionally in a Chris Nolan film with the exception of Interstellar. But this was a pretty close second in really kind of delving deep into these kind of psychological consequences, these moral consequences, and these mortal consequences of inventing something so existentially threatening. What takes it to the next level is acting and performance, and Cillian Murphy just absolutely nails every aspect of the role. It's a very internalized performance. I think his weight loss and very gaunt figure channeling Oppenheimer's real physique really emphasized this haunting reality that a man so small was dealing with such a massive scale thing. I think Cillian Murphy could easily be up for Oscars for this film. The supporting cast, while great, kind of dip in and out. I think Emily Blunt and Florence Pugh are slightly underused in this film. It makes sense from a narrative point of view, considering that it's told from a subjective standpoint, and obviously he was very neglectful of his personal relationships when compared to his work life, so it reflects that from the narrative viewpoint we're seeing it from. But yeah, with actors of that caliber, that's the only frustrating thing of having such a fantastic ensemble, is that you feel shortchanged when they're only in the film for like a few scenes. The score is also absolutely phenomenal. I think it perfectly kind of encapsulates this kind of wonder of science feel, but also this just absolute dreaded weight of the decisions and the progress being made. Music can always help the flow of a film, even when scenes start to stagnate or feel slightly stunted. Speaking of which, I never felt like this film wasted a moment. At 3 hours long, the size of the film, the scale of the film, felt like it needed every bit of that screen time to really tuck into Oppenheimer and his own psyche, to tuck into the kind of geopolitics of the world at that time, and also to tuck into the legal battle that followed. I think if there was one letdown for me, it would be the visuals and the practical effects in the Trinity test itself. I don't think that the execution of that and the big explosion quite lived up to the magnitude of what that moment meant. Don't get me wrong, the depiction of that event, the editing, the sound design, particularly the sound design, the way it was cut together, the performances, the reactions were all spot on, and that entire sequence was edge of your seat stuff. It's just the explosion itself felt slightly underwhelming considering the magnitude of what it signified in the film and obviously in real life. But talking of sound design, I do kind of want to draw specific attention to that, because I think sound design is where this film absolutely knocks it out of the park, particularly in the moments where Oppenheimer's starting to succumb to the guilt of what he's done. There's a really fantastic scene in a small purpose-built town hall where he's receiving thunderous applause, and the way that's used to create such a kind of claustrophobic intensity with the sounds of the clapping being echoed out and phased out, and then the sounds of like wind from bombs kind of fading in. It's just so well executed. And again, Cillian Murphy really nails these moments, because for a lot of the film, the camera is just dead center on his face. And he really has to sell you the expression of what he's feeling. And he always does, every single time. And because we are seeing it from this subjective point of view, the depictions of Hiroshima and Nagasaki are never shown on screen. And in a way that's even more haunting, because we're seeing this story unfold from the perspective of a man who didn't see it, who's, you know, kind of waiting to hear via radio broadcasts and only imagining the consequences of what he's done. Yeah, I could sing this film's praises constantly. I think this film is absolutely phenomenal. If you have seen it, guys, do drop a comment below, let me know what you think. Please also consider liking and subscribing to the channel, always a huge help for me. And in the meantime, we'll see you for the next vid.